Thank you, Madam President. Good evening. The contemporary state is powerful, overreaching, and often imperfect in terms of accountability. Elections are flawed, political appeals lack transparency, and powerful individuals are capable of shaping policies. Yet, despite such imperfections and inhibitions, we do not view the modern state as a threat. Indeed, the states offer protection for large proportions of the population through the police force and judiciary, offer support for vulnerable minorities through the welfare system, and pioneer innovation through subsidising entrepreneurship and education. We view the modern state as a necessary, but occasionally inconvenient entity, a force that requires countervailing at times, but it is not something that is fundamentally or necessarily endangering. It is not a threat. This is the very same analogy I'd like to draw with tech empires. Denied. I agree with many of the proposition's points that tech empires can be unaccountable, that they can lack transparency, that indeed, in certain extreme cases, insidious motives may prevail and cause some inconveniences. But the onus on the proposition is more than that. It is to show that there exist no ways, no reasons, and no methods for us to hold tech empires to account. That in the face of rising prospects and benefits tech empires offer us, we should resort to a defeatist attitude of viewing them as threats. Instead, we should view them as potential allies, or at least manageable challenges. My argument today is simple. I acknowledge that tech empires can be dangerous, can cause inconveniences, and can be problematic. But more importantly, I would like to propose how society is not static, and how we can offer adequate insurance against even the most adverse impacts such empires would bring. Indeed, it is essential that we weigh these minor harms against the improvements to communication, information processing, and entertainment that concretely benefits our everyday lives. I give you 3 points today. Firstly, that there are internal incentives and mechanisms within tech empires to check against transgressions on which the proposition will propose tonight. Even such mechanisms are inadequate. The harms that follow are nothing that we cannot overcome through more rigorous regulations, galvanized collective actions, and exercising our powers as individual consumers. Secondly, in contrast to mere companies, tech empires have the unique structural incentives to advance innovation, research, and development that serve all members of the society, as opposed to a select, preserved elite. Thirdly, that in tonight's debate, we're no doubt that proposition will give you a shopping list of harms against the many benefits tech empires bring you. The correct weighting metrics must be the one that takes into account the long, long arc of history. Through these 3 claims, I hope to answer a prescriptive question. In the long run, will our relationship with tech empires be one of mutual, symbolic collaboration, or an unnecessarily pessimistic imagination of a doomsday scenario? As an optimist, which is rare, given the past 2 years of global politics? I firmly vouch for the former. But first, it falls upon me to introduce the speakers on the proposition bench tonight. The first speaker that you had the pleasure to hear from is Nishad Sanzagiri, Master student in Modern South Asian Studies at St Anthony's College and the Director of Press of the Oxford Union. In January 2015, he wrote for The Independent. Now, let's hope more people listen to his speech tonight than people who read his articles. Your second speaker, Roaring Keflin Jones, is a seasoned BBC tech correspondent who wrote the critically acclaimed Dot Bomb. His previous blog, Dot Rory, was rated by the Sunday Times magazines as among the top 100 blogs in the world. Although he looks flawless on paper, he did graduate at the other place, and it's therefore no surprise that his argument today would begin and end with a single dot. And your last proposition, Catherine Mayhem, is Executive Director of the Wikimedia Foundation. I was especially moved by your work in improving human rights in technology. After all, in a highly male-dominated industry, your success is an inspiration for many, many young women who aspire to join the highest level of tech industry. And indeed, it is the highest honor to debate against such accomplished and well-versed opposition. Madam President, these are your guests, and they are most welcome. So, let me begin with my first point tonight. Tech empires are driven first and foremost by buying from their consumers, whether this materializes in the form of continued purchase of their products or propping up of their stock prices by public shareholders. In particular, with the advent of increasing awareness of consumer rights and the proliferation of articles, information campaigns, and public discussions, we have become a generation that is armed with ever so acute vigilance concerning the importance of privacy. The proposition may have you believe that tech empires eliminate and crowd out competition. But this ignores the fact that tech empires act as an oligopoly of competing firms. And inter-firm competition often boils down to the question of which firms offer better privacy and more innovative, high-quality assurance of information security. We can opt for alternatives, precisely because there is more than one tech empire specializing in the very same technological niche. If we dislike WhatsApp, we can always opt for iMessage, or Line, or WeChat. If we're very off Instagram, we can turn to Snapchat. Moreover, many tech empires have designated branches of their departments to specialize in preventing internal abuse of power. This is for a very simple reason. Investors and large donors fear being tainted by associations with organizations of disrepute, particularly if revelations are spilled over large-scale abuses carried out by firms whom they actively back. Leading donors have hence played a pivotal role in supporting the setups of ombudsmen and internal discipline departments in companies such as Apple, Amazon, and Google. The proposition is right in saying that profit incentives matter and skew the actions of tech empires. What they fail to also recognize is that the very problem they outline also organically spur pressure to reform from within these companies. Tech empires are something that we can actively make a difference to. It is an ever-enlightened citizenry that propelled the European Commission to fine Google £2.4 billion last year for favouring its own services when consumers were using its search engines. It is the cries of the outraged public that forced the launch of the European Union-wide data protection rules in May 2017, which required Facebook double down on its previous privacy leaks. It is the vigilance and strength of the informed global community in the face of governmental legislation against net neutrality that have ensured that net neutrality remains a cornerstone of the contemporary market. You may think, surely, considering the existence of such problems, a concession must be made to proposition. But think again. When we say that something is a threat to us, we're claiming that its harms are both irrevocable and imminent. When you walk out the chamber and decide to vote aye, you're relegating the efforts and successes of the public to the unjustifiable depth of unwarranted pessimisms. My second claim is one concerning the uniqueness of tech empires. After all, why do we need tech empires when surely a large number of smaller tech companies will perhaps do just as well? The reason why empires differ from mere companies lies in their scale, which allows them to work technological magic in ways inconceivable to substantially smaller companies. We're talking about the ability of these empires to create specialized departments that focus on particular areas of innovation and frontier technology. We're talking about the pooling of capital and revenue in such a way that maximizes long-term research and development, which has contributed towards optimization of functions ranging from the accessibility of your phone's interface to the deployment of algorithms in matching your Google searches. It is through tech empires that is made possible. Qualitative leaps do not come easily. Rome was not built in a day, for goodness sake. There's so much more than tech empires can offer. Yet, mere size isn't the sole reason why empires excel vis-à-vis companies. Contrary to popular belief, tech empires, in fact, encourage internal competition within the industry. Innovators, researchers, product designers ascend their hierarchies from best satisfying their consumer needs and target groups. It is such competitive pressures within such enclosed, concentrated settings that give us wonders, ranging from SoundCloud to Spotify, from Dropbox to Microsoft. The concentration of resources, soft and hard, human and physical capital, is unparalleled in large tech empires and cannot be easily replicated. Size, concentration, stability. These are the unique features that mark the substantial contributions that the rise of tech empires have brought us today. And when you walk out the doors tonight, ladies and gentlemen, you must remember that had it not been for the empires of tech innovations, Facebook would never have become a pioneering platform that cuts across geographical boundaries and enable us to keep in constant touch with our family halfway across the world. And the apple would remain little more than an ordinary fruit. My third and final claim is this. The proposition will undoubtedly give you a list of harms, but we, instead, will opt for the brighter side of the reality. How should we, as the Oxford Union, vote tonight. My gut feeling, and I'm often right on this one, is that we ought to be optimists. Take a look at the long arc of history that precedes us today. From the revolution that gave us bronze technology to the invention of printing press. From the Industrial Revolution to the digital revolution. We, humans, have always found ways to adapt to and overcome new challenges. Never once did we capitulate. Never once were we put off by advances in technology. Never once did these advantages threaten us. There may have been inconveniences, challenges even, along the way. But threats, they were not. The long arc of history is a story that you and I have to write. That 7 billion of us are symbiotically performing and experiencing. And throughout human history, we have been bestowed by nature with the wisdom, dexterity, and resilience to weather new challenges. To call tech empires a threat would be to sell ourselves short. After all, through regulations, collective actions, and our united will, we shall and have succeeded at overcoming their potential risks. But the prospective rewards of tech empires could not emerge with their absence. There are no other ways of technological developments to otherwise develop so quickly, if at all. I want to close this with a classic Chinese proverb: 水不仅可以漂浮船，它也可以让它下沉。Water has potential to sink or keep a boat afloat. Tech empires are no threats to our society. The powers of tech empires are curtailable, controllable, and fundamentally manageable. It is up to us to decide how we treat them. For it is our actions to date that have the bearings of the children of tomorrow. When you walk out the door today, vote not for the side that ignores the powers of human agency. Vote to believe. Vote to be optimistic. Vote for side opposition. Thank you very much.